Hello everyone and welcome back to the top 8 playoffs of the Winter League at Millennium Games in Rochester, New York. My name is Tim.
I'm Chris.
I'm Nam.
And we've got here the second game of the first round between Mike on the left playing Near Earth Hub and myself, Tim, on the right playing Leela.
Leela Patel.
Yeah. And so
Heyo.
got the dreaded Near Earth Hub against Leela, who I think is quickly becoming one of the stronger criminal runners.
She's definitely making a name for herself. And we see a lot of times people even just running kind of that traditional Andy build out of Leela just for the variety of effect.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the Leela effect is actually really good. I did not realize how good it was until the first time it was played on me.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my god, that's so good.
It was one of those cards that, like, when the pack came out, I was like, what do we do with this card? I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And then you play it a few times, and I play criminal, and I also get this awesome effect out of it.
You go, oh, it's blue, so I just do it.
Right.
Just as a reminder to anyone tuning in, this tournament was filmed right before the first pack of the Sansan cycle, which is called the Valley. This is right before the Valley.
Yes.
So none of those toys yet,
Yes.
but it is after the Order and Chaos Big Box expansion.
Right.
So, to talk about Leela's ability, so let's just name some of the fun things you can do with it. If you happen to trigger the ability, you can return a half-advanced agenda back into the corp's hand.
Right. And also Advanced Ice, which was a big reason I ran it for this tournament, because a lot of people, both out of NBN and Whalen, were playing the new Advanceable Whalen Ice out of Order and Chaos. And it was something that was causing a lot of problems for some of my decks, so I figured, why don't I just get rid of that if I run into an agenda?
For sure. Tim off to a great criminal start.
Yeah.
With the fairy and the security testing.
Yes. And I had tried a few different econ packages in Leela. One kind of a resource heavy build, and then one more the typical Desperado security testing type thing. And that was what I ended up doing here.
It's good.
Yeah, it still works.
Yeah, and to be honest, if nothing else, you can just return the thing with advancement counters to prevent shenanigans such as, Jinteki traps or, Trick of Light, any of those sorts of things.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
great ability.
Oh, yeah. That's fantastic.
So it looks like Mike's making a remote, putting ice in front of it. Team, you're taking your turn right now. Are you trying to get in? What's in your head right now?
At this point, I don't think, because it was sitting on the table last turn undefended, so I'm thinking my thought at this point is that it's probably a Sansan. And so at this point, he's not quite, he's right at the threshold where he can score an agenda off of it.
Right.
But I'm not too concerned because that would leave him wide open. I would bounce things with my ability.
That's true.
So I'm not trying really hard to get in there. I'm just advancing my board state at this point, making some money, making some credits, getting some breakers out,
That's true.
Maybe trying to make him burn some money by running.
Right, yeah, if I can get him to res some ice, that puts him down below that 8 credit threshold.
Yep, as he says no. You see wrap around,
which I just played a Corroder, so things are okay.
Yeah.
Life's good. Plus, if you do manage to sneak an agenda off the top of R&D, just bounce that Sansan right back.
Exactly. And at this point, this is kind of a thing that, I don't remember exactly if it happens in this game, but the type of thing that if somebody's not really familiar with playing against Leela, they might fast advance that agenda out while they don't have really heavy ice coverage, and then it just opens one of their servers up. And so it punishes fast play and forces the corp to kind of slow down to your pace a little bit in the early game.
I think for wraparound, you should just keep a permanent marker on you at all times, and just whatever program you're going to install next, just write Fractor on it.
Yeah. They're all
solution.
fractors.
So Tim dropping a dirty laundry, getting some money.
Who doesn't like cash monies?
So good. With security testing, so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike's wise enough. Now, I'm scared of Leela. So I always do exactly what Mike's doing, double ice before I start doing my shenanigans.
And if nothing else, you need to double up just because it's criminal, and inside job is always the threat there.
Yes.
So.
It's true.
And I believe he named legwork on the... What is that card called again?
Targeted marketing.
Targeting marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
He named legwork on the targeting marketing.
That's an interesting call because you're definitely afraid of it. But is that a tell saying,
Yeah.
hey, man, don't legwork me right now?
And so I play out the third piece of the breaker suite here. That's the Cerberus Rex, the Code Gate breaker, which uses counters to break. And then I Maker's Eye.
Woo!
So calling his bluff on the legwork and saying, I'm going to Maker's Eye instead.
Yeah, the thing is, if he actually knew that he could have...
Oh, and it's a toll booth.
He could have faked you out into actually running his hand and having nothing.
It's true.
Or...
That's metagaming right there.
Yeah. Or reverse. But yeah, you have enough credits to pay the 3, but I don't know if you can...
I do. They're slightly out of frame. I did have the money to get through.
All right.
And so we see a San. That's a Beal.
Ooh, stole a Beal.
Which bounces the HQ ice after and crashes the targeted marketing.
Legwork like crazy, Tim.
And
Astro!
Oh no!
Wow, and you
bounce that which is likely a San.
I'm
guessing.
Wow.
And then, just because he played targeted marketing, I play a Legwork.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Wow. Well, I mean, to be fair, he does have more cards in hand now.
He does have additional 2 cards in hand.
But considering the series of events that has just occurred is super fortuitous for you.
Yes.
That is... And that's how Leela works.
Yes. And so, yeah, she can snowball incredibly hard if you get a good early game.
Now, you didn't... where was I going with that? Oh, so you didn't know what was in his hand, but now that we're looking at everything in his hand...
Yeah, there were no agendas.
There were no agendas.
Yeah, he completely bluffed on the targeted marketing.
Right.
And so that was actually good on his part. It wasted a legwork and a run for no payout.
Right.
But still, I'm in a pretty good spot, having stole 2 agendas.
Yeah, but it was, to be honest, that was pretty good play.
Yeah, that was a good play on his part. And since I did not have my decoder on the field at the beginning of the turn, he thought he was secure on that toll booth. So yeah, a good play on his part, I think.
So interesting. Icing up archives, but then dropping a new remote?
Right.
So that tells me it's not necessarily ice against the security testing.
Right. And so I immediately put the security testing over there. He might be thinking I have a sneak door or something. I know a lot of Leelas will run a one-of sneak to door.
That makes a lot of sense.
Actually, in a couple of other criminal builds that I had, I also ran one of Sneak Door because you don't want them to accidentally see it if you have to discard it or anything. Exactly. But if you have it, you just keep it in hand and then wait until the opportune moment. It's like, haha!
Yeah. It's one of those cards I find so easy to forget about as Corp.
Yes. It was one of those, back in the core set days, it was always on your mind.
It was brutal.
It's a little faded now, so it's maybe even more dangerous.
Yeah, the card pool was just smaller then, so it was like, well, I can think about 100 cards in my head. Yeah. Well, that's all there is, so it's like, okay.
Ooh, and shutting down the toll booth.
Well done.
And he is at low credits.
And you get
another agenda.
Wow, and what do you bounce?
Thinking what to bounce, bouncing the HQ ice again.
Ooh. I think this is probably the proper play against this deck, because usually fast advance... They want to have the agenda in hand to advance it out quick. So I think that's good. But plus, it was only a 1 ice protection.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I knew there was a toll booth on R&D, which he couldn't res until he used that melange. So bouncing that wasn't massively advantageous at that point. And the account siphon.
And here's the rub in the face.
So that is the... I'm taking your lunch money and putting your head in the toilet.
And that was your first or second click?
That was the second click. I believe I drew on the first click.
Okay, you probably drew it.
And then I... running and trashing the melange, which makes sense.
Because you don't care about security testing? Well, he only has 3 credits. The likelihood that he'll spend it on it is probably low. And it's only security testing. It's not like, you know, Mr. Lee.
And then pulling off one of the tags, because I'd like to keep that security testing around. He puts the ice back in front of HQ twice this time.
Oh, he fixes his sleeve. He can't have it facing in the other direction.
They're all staring us in the face.
I definitely give him a hard time every time. I'm like, you're not playing Wayland. You can't use those sleeves.
It's not allowed.
That's illegal. That's next level mind games, though.
Yes. Put the snare sleeves on everything.
Oh, everything's a snare.
And we know that's a toll booth, so run in there knowing you can't.
You remember what I said earlier about carrying the marker around? Just write snare on every card.
No
Enigma?
Enigma snare.
Yeah.
Tim, you were lucky enough earlier. You don't get anything else.
Yeah.
R&D.
Hitting 2 agendas in a single Maker's Eye, and then another one off the top. I think I've exhausted my luck for this game.
Ooh, dropping the Earthrise Hotel.
Earthrise. Which is another of those cards that is just fantastic in Criminal, I think.
Absolutely.
Since a lot of their... Mr. Lee can be slow and click intensive. And what is the other one? Express Delivery, which actually I was using in this deck until Earthrise Hotel came out.
And then you were like, I'd just rather have more cards.
Yes, I'd rather have a bunch of cards. It actually only has 3 counters on it.
Yeah.
Express delivery sometimes is amazing, and sometimes is, I want all 4 of these.
Yes.
This
yes,
is horrible.
Exactly.
I think it's really situational because a lot of the times when runners draw, they're digging for something specific.
Yes,
so most of the time, express delivery might be better.
Right.
But if you're just looking for raw stuff,
yes,
then I mean,
exactly,
this is perfect.
Right.
Ooh, dropping the Desperado.
Finally,
there it is. So I have to admit, I only have 2 Desperados in here.
What? Did you not purchase your third core set?
I only have 2 core sets.
You're not a criminal
point,
without 3 Desperados.
Yeah, I feel like a scrub because I've probably spent more money on buying fancy tokens that I could have just bought another core set.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I made the core set first priority.
Yeah.
And then got the sleeves and other things later.
Yeah.
Or just play a lot of drafts.
Those Team Covenant guys, they're so nice though. I had to buy some of their stuff.
They are swell guys.
Yeah.
With great tokens.
Yes.
Pop-up window!
Hey, it's a new.
He snuck in the fancy new pop-up window just in time.
But now you can't read it because it's upside down.
Yes.
It's also very scary.
And so we keep trucking on in.
Oddly enough, I actually think I like the original art better.
I have to agree with you there.
Okay.
Ooh, Data Raven.
Ooh.
And I have not seen a lot of tag punishment so far, so I'm curious what that Data Raven is for.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't know this while playing the game, but during this cast earlier, I actually saw a psychographics in his hand.
Okay.
So,
gotcha.
We know that I know he's running shenanigans because it's in his hand.
And I think I saw just the Scorched Earth.
Oh, there we go.
Too.
Well, good thing you cleared those.
Well, yeah, I'm glad I cleared those tags then. And also at the time, I think I did have the Earthrise in hand that I wanted to play, so many layers of removing tags.
Yeah, so unless he had, like, 2 Scorched Earth, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal.
But Data Raven, one of those cards where you're just playing along and then you see it and you go, everything is different now.
Yes.
The game has changed.
Yeah, and I can see you have a Plascrete right in hand. Right
I do have a Plascrete in hand, so now that I've seen the Data Raven, I will likely play that Plascrete at some point. This does take him down to below the number of credits he needs to res that toll booth in front of R&D, so a bit of a risky situation for him. Although he has just drawn through a lot with Jackson, so odds are he's recycled some of those agendas.
I could actually hear I'm actually playing the game next to this game, so I can actually hear myself on the video right now.
That's very funny. Just wait for you to yell, Melange!
I would do that.
So, sure gamble up running archives to get him to trigger that Jackson. Although, no, it looks like the security testing is set over there. Never mind. Doing it again to trigger the Jackson. To this point, there are a lot of cards in archives. A lot of the times, you would run R&D first, and then to see a card, run archives to get Jackson them back, and then run R&D a third time. But in this case, he had Jackson so many cards that I scored a number of agendas that I figure the odds are better if I hit archives first.
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting thought process. I know there's been some discussion on this, maybe not super serious discussion, but I'd just like to bring it up. Now, when you see a Jackson on the table and you suspect there's anything in archives, you have a choice. You can run the Jackson or you can run the archives. And you just explained your validation for running on the archives first in this situation. But you got another agenda, and that's the game. But what are the other situations in which you might not run archives first and you would actually run on the Jackson first?
Ooh, good question.
Because it's a thought-provoking thing, and it might not seem like a huge deal, at the surface, but in certain games, it actually matters which one you run on first.
Yeah.
I think it depends. If they are in control of the game, I would run the Jackson. Because then you can get rid of it. Either they pop it, okay, or you trash it. But if it feels like they're a little frantic, or you're kind of in the control position, and they're likely ditching agendas because they're nervous, then it makes sense to run archives because you'll get some information. Especially that happens a lot early game.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll get some information. You'll make them pop the Jackson. You'll save the money.
So that finishes the first round of the top 8 here. We'll be moving right along onto the second round with some more games from our league playoffs in Rochester, New York. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.